All right. Greetings and a wonderful warm salutations It is always a pleasure to be in this space. It is always a pleasure to have a warm and welcoming ear. I know something that I do not take lightly. I understand that whether this is sometimes maybe this is your first time coming into the new space, or whether that be today, whether that be next strong, whether that be next year, or whatever the case may be, I am greatly honored that you stop by for however long that will be. It's not something that I take lightly. So give thanks for everybody being here. Matter of fact, let me go through the chat first to give a shout out to Koti Yafe. Peace. Alpha Woman Now with Emma Yakira Eden. Peace. Peace to you, Master Menelec. Peace to you, Ibex Delaney. Now, if I said that wrong, please just help a brother out. Give him a cripple crab and crutch. I think that's how you say it. Peace to you, Emma Naya. And peace, Emma Aquia. Peace, Sovereign Eats. We are over here on YouTube land. I'm going to look over here on Clubhouse. I see Aki Darian. Peace to you. Cool. It's correct. All right, cool. Thank you. All right. So when I started, you know, me and title, I hate titling shows. So let me just say that. And I was going back and forth with, you know, Chiefs or one of Chiefs Bobbers. The revolution will not be televised, or Unconditional Love Affair. And it just had me thinking of when you commit to something and when you actually sell yourself for something, somebody doesn't have to tell you, you know, to get up and do it. And it started, so then I went back and I started thinking about when I was a youth. And peace, Mayuba. When I was a youth, and we would always go outside, and that's something that I would always tell my people, like, what did you like to do when you were younger? I just wanted to play all day, right? Somebody didn't have to tell me. And then when I found football, somebody didn't have to tell me, hey man, you should get up and you should just go out and compete against, you know, other children in the neighborhood. You should get up and just start playing in the parking lot, or you should start playing, you know, here or there. Somebody didn't have to tell me that. It wasn't no, oh, yeah, I'm only doing this because I'm going to get praise from this person. I'm only doing this because I'm going to get some sort of accolade, right? It was irrelevant. It wasn't even in my head. It was just a matter of, I just wanted to go out there. I wanted to get better, and I wanted to have fun. More importantly, I just wanted to have a good time. And when one is just having fun and having a good time, they're actually perfecting their craft. They're doing what one could say is called to do. Now, the problem with that in sports is one starts to think that this is my purpose, and your purpose is only going to go but for so long, especially when we're talking about sports. And that even makes me start to think about when I was at a retreat, the first new retreat that I've ever been to, and we were all sitting and having a conversation, and she started asking questions and saying, you know, do you know your purpose? It's the first thing. Now, I'm going to assume that everybody who is listening to me right now knows their purpose. I'm going to assume that. If you do not know your purpose, then I would suggest that you figure that out, or get a consultation with Chief and help to get some direction and guidance, and, you know, helping to navigate and help you along your journey. But nonetheless, one of the questions that was asked, which I'm going to pose to all of you. Matter of fact, I think I got it here for a banner, right? How do you work on your purpose if nobody is around? Yeah. That was one of the questions, and I don't know if it was phrased exactly like that, but nonetheless, how do you work on your purpose if nobody is around to witness, to see, to hear, to applaud, to guide, to instruct? How do you work on it? You know? And that's something that I'll give y'all a second. And I already know how this goes. It'll probably be one or two people who answer. So that's really why I don't ask a lot of questions. But we're going to try it today. All right. How do you work on it if nobody is around? And that was something that, I had to pause for a second. And I was like, how do you work on that? Does it even matter if nobody is around? Right? Like those are some of the things that I started questioning. Well, I guess that it doesn't matter, and sometimes maybe you just go do something else, or you dig in and you're like, you know what? Whether there is 2 or whether there is 2,000, I'm going to do what I was called to do. Because this is my purpose and this is what I'm supposed to fulfill, regardless of who shows up, right? Regardless. Before I move on, this is what I kind of expected. I guess there's a 2-minute delay. That's what we'll that's what it is. There's a 2-minute delay, and usually people love to. Well, I'll come back to it. Whenever y'all get to it, you get to it. All right. So that's what took me to unconditional love affair. And when one has an unconditional love affair, well, then I started to look at some definitions. So we're going to start by saying unconditional, right? And what is unconditional? Unconditional just is not limited to by conditions. So somebody is like, I'll do this if I'm going to get this, right? I'll do this if I'm going to get here. And when there's conditions on it and somebody doesn't get what they think that they're supposed to get, then it becomes problematic. Then they become discouraged. Then they become, man, you promised me that there was going to be 20,000 people sitting here and I only see 10,000, right? Or I said that I would participate in something if I got 20,000 likes. I only got 5,000 likes, so I'm not doing it. Were you called to do it? If you were called to do it, it doesn't matter how many is on there. That's what you're supposed to start to move in a direction where it's like, that's what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh, I'm sorry too. Peace to you, Emily Kier. I see you on here. If you want to speak on Clubhouse, just raise your hand. Sometimes I'm looking at it. I just so happen to see that green mark come up. You can speak. If you want to join on YouTube, you can figure it out.
I'm looking for it. I was like, oh, he figured it out. Let me listen. I'm sure someone who knows will be kind enough to put it in this.
Yeah, you know what? Teamwork makes the dream work. Maybe we'll get a flash of Master Menelik again pulling it out of here, and then he'll post it on it. Absolutely. All right. But nonetheless, there's not any conditions on what one is going to do, right? So it's just a matter of now, are you going to move on that purpose because this is what one was called to do, or your eyes going to start to get you beat and say, you know what, nah, I'm not going to do it because certain conditions are not in place for me to actually step up to begin my journey, to begin what I was supposed to do. Now we got to look at love. What is love? Is connection. It's just very simple. It's just a connection. Nothing. We're not gonna. It's not that deep. It's what people try to. And then we have affair, and that's anything done or to be done, anything requiring action or effort, business or concern. Right. So one has an unconditional love affair. One is there's no conditions placed on the connection that they have with the Most High and what they sent them to do. I'm going to make this simple. I'm giving us all, so we're all on the same page and we know we have working definitions of what we have so we can start to move forward. So unconditional love affair is one that there's no conditions on the connection that they have with the Most High and what they sent them to do. Period. All right. And I see, matter of fact, I'm gonna come back here because I see you, Master Menelik. So thank you. Says, Master Menelik says, how does he work on his purpose if nobody is around? He says, I study and practice, look for weaknesses in my technique, but also look for more effective means using my art as a means of communicating responsibly and healing concepts. Look for weaknesses, man. That's a man. Absolutely. Looking for holes and looking for always checking and triple and double and triple checking to see, you know what, is there something that I missed? Is there something that, you know, that can be improved upon, that can be built and better? Because there are, one of the things that's even said in the Saduga house is and the affirmation is, my life is perfectly perfecting. So it's like, it's a constant working, it's a constant moving. It's not perfect where it's now, if something is perfect, it's dying, but more so when it's perfecting, we just keep molding and we keep shaping and we keep now building on that. So it's not a sense of, I'm gonna get it right when everybody shows up. I'm gonna get it right when there's 20,000 people here. No, that's not the time to get it right. The time to get it right is when nobody is standing there watching, or nobody is looking. Why don't you fix it then? Fix it then. Because one of the things that we've said before, and Chief has said this numerous times, your talents will not only bring you out, your talents will bring you out. And what it said, what I, extrapolated from that, or gleaned, let me carry the word gleaned. What I gleaned from that is just a matter of, if you're not ready and you haven't built a solid foundation, you are going to be exposed, right? You're going to be, this person is not what he says he be, or what he pretends to be, or what he is trying to present himself to be. You're not that. You are not him. You are not him. Yeah. So it's a matter of, are you going to work on that? Are you going to be perfecting that when nobody is watching? No conditions on it. My only condition, and it's not even in a sense of, I'm working on this because I see certain awards that I can achieve if I start to go this route, certain money that I can get if I start to go this route, certain things that I want if I start to go this route. Because sometimes, if you heard Chief say this before, even especially when he talks about being a man, it's a thankless job. It's a thankless job. When you're doing the work, when you are actually putting in the work, you're going to find sometimes it's a thankless job. There's no trophies that you're setting yourself up to get. There's no envelopes that somebody's going to open to read your name on it. And if we start even looking at coming from Achi and his building that he did this past Thursday, when he was showing some of the greats, man, some of the greats that helped start to build and chip away at what we call this racism, white supremacy, and trying to just show people, like, look, take a look at this, man. Let's look and see what we can do and start to build. I'm gonna show you something. So when you start to see the things that they have done, it wasn't no recognition. It was no, oh yeah, we're gonna give you the image award, because you're starting to say things that start to offend people. But you cannot be somebody who is now beguiled by the worldly things, because then now, if you're beguiled by the worldly things, then whatever you feel that you own begins to own you. That was something that was put into one of the, and I think I said this last time, but Chief had put that in one of the chats, and it's always just something to feed you to make, you know what, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. What things are you looking to own that ultimately will start to own you? And now you start to hold back and say, you know what, I can't do what I was called to do because in fear that I might lose something. So now I start to go ahead, Emma, did you want to say something?
I did, thank you. Yeah. But you go ahead and finish your sentence.
You in there now. Water's fine. Come on now.
Okay, give thanks. When you touched on, what you're seeking, right? Or what you're looking for will end up owning you. I thought about the likes, right? Just like the likes being those who are watching or those who are, sending hearts or likes to on social media. And it's like, if you gear what you're offering, let's say your vision is to provide a particular service, but in so doing, you try to figure out what's going to be that clickbaity thing that people will be attracted to you for. And you kind of have to step outside of your character, or you try to, and you post something, and that's what catches on. So then that's what you continue to pursue. So you have an audience, you have people present, but they're not present for what you have actually been instructed to bring forward. So it's like you adulterate your purpose or your mission in that way. And so to answer the question, which I placed it in the YouTube chat, but I wanted to get on and just talk to you too. It shouldn't matter if people are around or not. When fulfilling purpose, you're doing as you're instructed to do based on what the vision is. It could be to show up and be on the same street corner or deliver the same message, and it isn't for anyone that's even there at that time. So I can't seek to, if my vision, right, not the vision that's planted in me, but my desire is to be speaking in front of 50,000 people, then the expectation that I would personally walk with would actually be incongruent with the mission. Because the mission right now is get up, go here, stand in this spot and speak. And, as it said so many times, and you said it as well, in the opening of your message and so many of Chief's messages, it's like peace and greetings to whomever may be receiving this at whatever time you may be logging in to get this message. It may be for someone 10 years from now.
Right.
It's not up to us to judge. It's the biggest challenge is the obedience. And it shouldn't be a challenge, right? It should just be the easiest thing to do. So that's a little bit of what I was getting from what you were putting down so far.
Right. Yo, and just when you said when you start to play to the crowd of the likes, and you start to play to what is going on in front of you, you start to now you lose the sight of the mission. You lose sight of your purpose of the connection to the Most High and what you were called to do, because now you're trying to gain favor from worldly things. That even starts to make me, if we start to take a look at now, we're going to start from, there's a couple scriptures. I think they should be in the descriptions in YouTube, but if not, they'll be in there at some point in time. But we're going to go to 1 John 2 and 15. All right, we'll start at 1 John 2 and 15. This is kind of a familiar passage. I think that some of you may already know. If not, I'm happy to introduce it to you. But in 1 John 2 and 15, King James Version, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man of the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So what do we now? We just look at connection, right? Connection. Are you connected to what these earthly things are going to start to try to give you? Are you connected to all of these little trinkets? And one of the things, I was going to get a car. My uncle sells cars, right? And I was like, yeah, it got all of these. And I was trying to run down all of these things that it had inside of the car. And he was like, yeah, that's cute. All that is somebody just trying to sell you something. They're just trying to get you involved and trying to get you. I'm trying to at least boost my revenue, boost what I'm doing to get you caught up with whatever it is that you see that's in front of you. But when you start to love these things, like, oh, I just got to have it. I can't do, I'm connected to these things. And now all of a sudden, I can't present myself unless I'm driving a Benz. I can't do this unless I have a $3 million house or, you know, then people will say, oh, then he's really not actually doing anything. That, you know, and it was interesting because I was actually telling somebody about Chief one time, and the first thing that they asked me was, does he have a lot of money? Because if he's as smart as what you're purporting, if he's as great as what you're saying, he must have a lot of money, right? Because that just comes with the territory. All right. Oh, man. And that's one of the things that we also now take a look at. Man, I don't see it in here. That's fine. I'm going to just pull it up on my phone. We got go to Matthew 11:7. Matthew 11:7. So I'm just going to pull it up on my phone. Give me a hot second. Where we at? Matthew 11 and
so while you pull it up, Achi Zach, what you just shared, you know, that he must be, if he's all that you're describing, he must be wealthy. That speaks to how disconnected we are, right? From understanding that a person will shine bright and radiate when they're walking in their purpose. And walking in your purpose doesn't necessarily mean that you have worldly gains, right? And like the two don't necessarily always even go together. And those that know their true value will have the things of the world, but you would never even know it, because those things have little value to them. So they wouldn't be the one driving the Benz or living in a $3 million home. They may be the one making provisions for others to grow and expand, because what they draw from is so abundant. And that's the type of abundance that so many don't even look for. They don't even understand that exists.
And it's almost in a sense like, again, your eyes getting you beat into worldly things, into, you know, it has to look like this. And if it doesn't look like this, then it can't be possibly anything from the Most High. If it doesn't have stained glass windows and 50-foot, you know, walk-in foyer and all of this other stuff, then it obviously must not be grand, because if it wasn't grand, then it's not from the Most High.
Right. Like, it makes me think of, you know, within our community, of course, we have our study sessions. And during a recent study session, we were reminded that, you know, you don't have a business if you don't have employees. How many outside of Anu would say they have a business because they make X amount of dollars off of a service or product that they offer? And so they say, well, yes, of course, I have a very successful business. But based on the lens and filters that we have been taught to use, we would know, that's not a business. You know, because the charge is to be able to employ others and edify others and to create opportunities for others. So the charge is greater than just the individual. So it's just a very different way of viewing things, or even perceiving what unconditional love is, going back to your title.
Right. Yeah, you go, tie it in. I appreciate that. So we're going to go over here and take a look at Matthew 11:7. And in Matthew 11:7, I'm going to give you a little context. John had his ministry, and John was locked up. It won't let me out. Oh, he was locked up, and he was like hardcore. Going in. You know, you need to repent. You got to do all of this. And he heard of Yeshua and some of the works, and he was like, "Oh, hold on," and made him second guess. He's like, "Hold on, man. You what? You just like you the teacher? Like you that guy?" And so I'm just going to read to you in this part, which I thought it just stood out to me, and I thought it was very interesting. So, and it says, "And as they departed, Yeshua began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, what went ye out into the wilderness to see. So in essence, like, what are you looking for? What are you like? You looking for? Like, it's almost like a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So I'm going out and I'm looking for grand. I'm going out and I'm looking for hot tubs, and I'm looking for, oh, they got training tables and they got all this. We don't got that over here. I'm going to look for this out here. But it's like, what do you know? Do you not recognize and do you not see what's going on in front of you? When people start to get into certain, even into spiritual work, they start to think that, I need a certain sign that I have to see. Lightning has to now strike. Rods have to start going off. Or maybe put the candle needs to be blown out, and then I know that And I actually said that at one particular time. So I'm gonna rat on myself. I need to see certain things in order for me to buy in. But me not recognizing what's standing right in front of me, me not recognizing the energy and the charge that it took for now somebody just to share a word. Not some candle getting blown out, not some grand building or somebody having a three-piece suit on or all of that, but just the energy that it took for somebody to share a word with me in a particular time that I needed it. Maybe I'm gonna miss that though, because I'm looking for something that I thought it should be, as opposed to what's being presented right in front of me. What went ye out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaking with the wind, like you looking for all of this grand jargon, but you're missing. It's like you're staring at where the headlights are shining, but you're missing the ground right in front of your bumper. Are you gonna miss it? You start to look at the videos that was released on the Sky People. A lot of information backed in there, but he has a hood on and a green jacket, and they're sitting in front of a fire. What can I get from that? Your eyes start to get you beat. It's not see, now there's certain conditions that it has to be in order for me to receive this. Or you know what? Sometimes the messages is coming too strong, and that's not how I learn better. Nobody cares how you learn better. If you knew how you learn the best, then you would be able to teach yourself. But you can't teach yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now you have to now say, you know what? I'm willing to have some humility and learn. And when one has humility, that just means understanding your limitations. That's all. That's all. But in it says, what went ye out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaking with the wind. And I just wanted to present that because I want you to just ask yourself, what are you looking for? Are you looking really for some authentic teaching? Or are you starting to get beguiled by the world and the connection that one has with the world and some of the things that they have, which now start to place conditions on your learning and conditions on your thinking and conditions on how far you can actually elevate? Is what you're going to have to start asking yourself, right? So now I want to take a look at, I'm going to jump around a little bit, so walk with me. We're going to go to 2 Timothy 4, 2, and 5. 2 Timothy 4, 2, and 5. And in 2 Timothy 4, 2, and 5, it says, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. Telling you, don't get caught up in the BS. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to turn their attention to people who can talk and have the gift of gab, but they're not saying anything. They're going to be people who come in and they have the dress and the garments and saying, flim, flam, flim, flam. Hold on, man. Slow this person down. They're not saying anything, but they're turning their ears away from truth. They're turning their ears away from, and just tell me what I want to hear. So now when you place a church inside of a capitalistic society, a lot of the message just becomes abundance, just becomes money, just becomes your stuff is around the corner. And if you keep holding on, you gonna get, you place $500, somebody's gonna get $1,000 back. That's all it becomes, is abundance. And if it doesn't become abundance, then it's like, oh, they ain't talking about something that I want to hear, because I feel like my blessing is right around the corner. Having itching ears. And they're going to turn their ears away from the truth, right? But now it's a matter of, where does one start to stand and say, you know what? I have an unconditional love affair. I don't have conditions on whether or not 15 million people are standing here or it's just 15. I'm going to do what I was called to do. Unconditionally. There's no condition on this. There's no, oh yeah, I can't do it because, or I'm not going to be here because I got all of this other stuff going on. There's no conditions. If I was called to do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to endure the afflictions. And I'm going to keep on moving. Now, if we also have on here the same in 2 Timothy 20 and 21. So they're still in 2, verse 20 and 21. And it says, but in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some of honor and some of dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. There's going to be a lot of temptations. There's going to be a lot of, it's almost in the sense of walking down the Las Vegas Strip, if some of you have been there. And the temptations are going to tell you, there's a lot of things that's going to try to invite one to say, yeah, come over here and be a part of this. Come over here and, join what we're doing. Can you do away with that? Can you say, you know what, I'm going beyond this? There's a lot of times when people have, you know what, I'm only going to do this if I can gain access to this. I often look at Amos Wilson, the great Amos Wilson, who is one of the greatest examples, I think, to date of one just living on their purpose. One totally sold out. And the only thing that I think, the only issue that I ever saw him have when just totally laying something down, not looking for a trophy, not looking for recognition, not looking for if you know my name. The only thing that I saw him look for was more time. He was just always would look at the clock and be like, I don't have enough time to go through all of this. I have to cut some of this short. There's no, I'm only going to give if you pay me such and such. I'm only going to do this if there's so many people here. I'm only going to do this if I'm able to receive this. There's no conditions on now what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to give it because this is what I was called to do. And I'm going to be a vessel. Unconditionally. Does one start to move unconditionally, or is there conditions? Again, walk with me. Let me see. I got, so now I'm going to go to, I think another great example of what I want to talk about too is Daniel. Now, I want to say that we spoke about this before. I couldn't find it, but it might have been just in the teams. But whatever. I think this is one of the greatest examples too of somebody who is just living on purpose, man, and not getting caught up into the flim-flam, and not getting caught up into what the world tries to offer, what the world tries to project, what the world tries to say. I'm connected. I have an unconditional love affair to my Creator, and I'm connected to my Creator, and this is what I'm going to do. So if we take a look at Daniel, first Daniel, we'll start there. and 8. Daniel 1 and 8, King James Version. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the kings. So just give you a little context with this, and maybe I should have put more up here, but they, a group of Hebrews, of course, who were well skilled, well rounded, well studied, was brought to the king's house, and they were brought in there to learn from Babylonian culture, in a sense. Gave them some of the finest meat, gave them some of the finest wine to drink, and all of these types of things. But one of the things in the beginning, when Daniel was in there, he was like, you know, he didn't want to defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, because he knew this is not the law. This is not what we abide by. So I don't eat this, right? This might be a delicacy for y'all. This might be, you know, I know y'all love your king crab legs. I know you like your shrimp cocktail and some tartar sauce. I know this might be a delicacy for y'all, but I'm not going to defile myself. I'm not going to do, because I know this is not in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't care what y'all try to tell me. And he requested the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So what they ended up doing was getting them some vegetables to eat. And after 10 days, then their skin started to clear up. And then they started to have, started to move and groove. But he's telling you, though, I'm not going to fall for that. I'm not going, what we talked about before is being an infidel. I'm not lukewarm in this. You can't try to pull me off of my square. I'm not eating this, man. I'm not eating this. I want to say there was we talked about this in one of the it might have been the study sessions, where it was like Chief was talking about touch not the unclean thing. And if they told me to eat the apple out of the pig's mouth in order for me to die, or in order to live, it's like, look, it's been real, y'all. It's been real. I'm committed. I'm totally sold out. And I'm not going to come off of my path or move for anybody or anyone. I'm telling you, hey, look, man, this is not in alignment with what we do. Now that starts to tell you you start to get a glimpse of what's in someone's heart, right? And even if we start to take it a step further, we can look at now Daniel 5, 13 and 17. So now Daniel was in there and he was getting busy, because a lot of people, they had the king couldn't read. He tried to get somebody to interpret his dreams. Nobody could interpret his dreams. They called Daniel in there. Daniel getting busy. Somebody's writing on a wall just out of nowhere, and they called Daniel in. Daniel getting busy. He getting busy. I'm gonna show you the connection that I have with my creator. And I know what this means. And I'm not, even if it's something that's going to be of great news for you, or if it's bad, I don't really care. Whatever the case may be, I'm just going to do what I was called to do. So if we take a look at Daniel 5, 13 through 17, it says, then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou the Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Yehuda, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that the light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. In thee, right? So if it's in thee, then that goes back to now, I can't defile that by now consuming certain things. And now he's saying, I know that the light is in you. And if the light is in you, hey, look, man, I'm looking for an answer here. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto my interpretation, therefore, but they could not shew the interpretation of the king. And I have heard of thee, and thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now, if thou can't read the writing and make known to me the interpretation, therefore thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now, this is where This is where it gets good. This is where it gets good. Don't worry. I see it got cut off. We just gonna pull it up. Daniel was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I don't need any of that, man. It says, then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself and give thy rewards to another. I don't need any of that. I don't want any of that. That's not why I do what I do. There's no conditions on what I do. That that's not how me and my creator works. Okay. I'm going to do what I was called to do. If I was placed here and there's conditions on what I'm doing, I'm just going to do it because this is what I was called to do. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, unless you give me gold and some gold garment, or some purple jacket or all of this, or some trophy or some letter or all of this other kind of stuff. I don't care about any of that. That does not interest me whatsoever. I'm going to do what I was called to do. Now it starts to make you think, really, what was in his heart is what is in his heart isn't in your heart. People love to sell their birthrights for a sandwich. People love to go down different streets because if they're promised some type of gold or some type of great standing or stature, or if you're promised some type of like in the movie 300, where the man walks in there and says, man, I'll give you women and I'll give you gold and I'll give you all of this. All of this could be yours if you just tell me how to defeat him. Okay. I'm not interested in any of that. Only thing I'm interested in is the connection to my creator and my purpose. Unconditional love affair to that. I don't care if you try to offer me them scrimps. I don't care if you want to offer me or you can own all of this land and stuff. If you just tell, man, I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in any of that. That does not move me. This does not, remember, let's go back now. Love not the world, not of the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Is it in you? Is it in you? That's what you got to start asking yourself. Would I start to take bribes if somebody told me that I can have certain things? If they told me my debt would be paid, if they told me that I could move into a $3 million house, would I start to sell all of that up? Would I sell my birthright? Would I sell my connection to the creator? Almost along the lines of, if we look at, I got another movie reference. Yeah, but it's not what you think.
It's not the Matrix.
No. The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli. All right. And in the Book of Eli, you can see when the character, he's walking down the path and he looks over the rail and there's some people just getting ransacked, right? And the thing that he keeps reciting to himself in that instance is, stay on the path. Stay on the path. Can you stay on the path? When people start throwing, oh, here's a promotion for you. Oh, I got that. If you just do this, I'll give you this. Stay on the path. If somehow you want to get in a certain space or a certain place, then, and I know you're so hungry for it, I'll give you this. And you give away all of it for something that you really can't even take with you. Really, what's in your heart? I see somebody, let me see something. It says, I'm going to add you. Let's see. Here we go. Are you in here? All right, I've added Alexandria. Do you want? All right,
Yeah, I was just, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. All right, cool. So at any rate, but getting back to it, it's just a matter of what are you, where your eyes at? Are your eyes going to get you beat, or are you going to actually stay on the path? And now that starts to take a look at, now we got to go back to, I'm going to the new way now. And in the new way, we got to start to take a look at modesty. Modesty. And modesty, let's take this down there. There we go. All right, modesty comes from your heart. What's in your heart? That goes back to Daniel. That goes back to Amos Wilson. That goes back to Chief. You start to look at, there's examples in front of you of what it looks like when you start to see what is inside someone's heart. What's in your heart? Are you going to be taken off the path because now you looking and walking down the Vegas Strip and saying all these lights are nice, so now I'm gonna go over here? Or you know what's in my heart is I can't defile what's in my heart. I can't move off of that. This is an unconditional love affair that I have to my Creator. What is in your heart? And when you carry reservation in your heart, it will reflect in your speech and garb. This is where now it's like going back to what he said, what are y'all looking for? What are you looking for? So many people get off the path because now they want attention, because they want some type of notoriety. They want to get an image award. They want to now, I want to go down in history as one of the greatest and blah, 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 whatever the case may be. That's not what you're seeing right now. What Chief is doing, what Amos Wilson has done, what all of these greats have done, this doesn't come with a trophy. You don't get an envelope for this. But you save lives with this. Literally save lives. From people with depression, from people with anxiety, from people who are talking about committing suicide, from people who are saying that they don't feel like they can go on and move on anymore. You don't get it. There ain't nobody calling you up to the stage for that, though. I willfully, you understand, I willfully this sinks in for you. What better job is there to have than that? What better recognition to have than somebody who says, you know what, I was feeling like I was going to off myself yesterday, but because I had a conversation or because I've seen the video that you did on this, it started to give me some type of vision for the future of saying that I'm not just caught up in this moment. Now, what happens if there was conditions on somebody saying that I'm going to, you know what, I'm not going to do this because it doesn't look like this? What happens if that happened with Amos Wilson? What happens if that happened with Chief in the teaching? I'll just go find somewhere else. I'm willfully, you understand and you can see, and that goes back to, for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, of what actually is being done and what actually is taking place in front of you. But you'll see it being reflected in their heart. You'll see it in the speech, in their garb. And it's not some, oh yeah, I'm walking in here with a $5,000 suit. I'm not driving some $1 million Rolls Royce or whatever the case may be, when I can get some pickup trucks and actually get busy and doing some actual work, as opposed to me trying to look good in front of everybody. And I know you get caught up with that whole, if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, they pay good, right? We got all these little fly sayings. And then your eyes getting you beat. And you get off the path, and then now one has to repent. But when you carry it in your heart, so when you are modest, you are able to keep a measurement of how you conduct and present yourself. All right. Are you conducting and presenting yourself in a manner that is representing the Most High? Are you representing your L? Does your manners of your interactions, of how you meet other people, do you show patience with other people like somebody has showed patience with you? Do you start to dress in a provocative manner to try to get attention, so people start to try to boost your little soft ego? Are you getting caught up in these things because there's only conditions on whether or not I'm going to be able to perform? Or am I going to carry the reservation in my heart and I'm going to do it just because this is what was called for me to do? And that Ruach Kodesh was blown into me, and it goes with me wherever I go. It was that old, what's that old song? My buddy, wherever I go, he goes, my buddy. And the stronger, and that was talked about on Friday with, I think she was talking about, and the stronger that I start to walk with it, the stronger my faith begins to take root. And I know, so that's when you start getting those lines, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. Because it's that faith walk. I know it's in my heart. I know there's certain things that I'm not going to do because I know it's not going to defile what I was put down here to do. I'm not going to start to be swayed by all of these little gadgets and gadgets that people try to, these little trinkets that somebody's going to try to hand me to say, oh yeah, you should have this and you need this and all of these other things. I'm not going to go along those lines because I'm committed to my Creator. There's an unconditional love affair that I have with my Creator. A reckless outpouring full of diablerie proves that a person has no sense of the appropriate measure of their own discharge. I mean, you can just pull up any social media right now and you can witness this. Or people just wanting attention, and anything that I can do to get your attention, then I'm going to start to do it, and I'm just going to sell them. I'm going to prostitute myself out to the highest bidder who gives me the most likes, who gives me the most attention. The humility of an individual is a preserver of the being. Now, remember, humility is just knowing your limitations, man. I know my limitations. I ain't doing that. Ain't doing that. And my life is perfectly perfecting, but I'm going to keep on working on my craft, regardless of who is here, supposed to be here or not. And I don't know if they're here today. I don't know if they're going to be here next draw. I don't know if they're going to come 10, 20 years from now. I.e. watching an Amos Wilson video that he has done in the 90s. I'm pretty sure he didn't think that somebody like me was going to watch that video. I'm just going to do what I was called to do, and I'm going to lay it down heavy. I'm going to lay it down heavy because that's what I was called to do. The humility of the individual is a preserver of that being. And and let me say this too, because this just popped in my head. It's in the sense of one of the things that we talked about the last time was actually going to the gym. And you know what happens when people start to go to the gym when they fall off? They'll come back from the gym and they'll look and they'll want results that same day. So they'll work out for an hour. They'll do something for 2 hours and they'll look themselves in the mirror and be like, man, I don't see any change. They'll go the next day. They'll go for an hour. They'll go for 2 hours. They'll come back and they'll look themselves in the mirror and they'll say, I don't see any change. Now, all of a sudden, their eyes start getting them beat. Because I don't see any change, now something must not be happening. Instead of just remaining consistent, instead of just remaining faithful and not putting conditions on, oh, I'm only doing this in order to see this happen. I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to have an unconditional love affair with my purpose, regardless of what I see physically with my own 2 eyes or not. This is what I was called to do. And the only thing that I'm concerned with is the connection that I have with the Creator. The humility of an individual is a preserver and of the being and the atmosphere around them. Be measured in all that you do. Be measured in all that you do. Be measured in all that you do. That even goes back to Daniel. And when somebody sends the king's meat and the king's wine, here, man, you can have, nah. Be measured. I'm not going to do that. Here, man, you want a fifth? Take a fifth of Hennessy. You want a fifth of this or whatever? Be measured. That's not what we do. My connection to the Creator is more important than anything that you could ever offer me. Be measured. Oh yeah, I just want to hang out with these, and over here they drink a little bit or they smoke a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna do a little bit of that because I just want to have fun and I want to have a good time. But meanwhile, when somebody calls on you while you're drunk, meanwhile, when somebody calls on you while you're high, meanwhile, when somebody is in desperate need and you're supposed to be blowing that Ruach Kokodesh through you in order to pour into them to give them life, and now all of a sudden you missed it because you wanted to have a drink. You wanted to get high. You wanted to fall into the worldly things because you know what? YOLO, you only live once, right? Be measured in all that you do. Because we are the people that accept our charge of virtue and the duty that it holds. This is, hey, you're going to put in work. And you're called for something greater than what you see. Don't let your eyes get you beat. Don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the garbage, but stay steadfast. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And you take on the charge and hold that duty that it holds, man. So I'm going to look in the chat for a little bit. We got scan for a little bit, knocking at, and I'm going to look over here. Ooh, somebody didn't tell me that this phone cut off. Are we in Clubhouse? Do you still hear me? I think so.
You're loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the thing on there. I was like, I think everybody gone. All right, cool. And then I see some people in here with your hands raised. You might have to raise them again because let me see. Maybe I can do that. There we go.
You done locked everybody up.
I wasn't looking. My apologies. I see you, Achi Darian. So let me see. Let me get to this comment. You got he says, in reference to your question, Achi, I think about the sun. If the earth and everything else in our star system were just barren rocks, the sun will still be shining. So whatever your purpose is, find a way to do it. Whether someone's around or not, that's the approach I would take. Right. And you know what? If we start even looking at if we start, when I start thinking about the sun, it's just a matter of, and the sun is not trying to prove to you anything either. I'm just doing my job. It's not trying to prove that I'm hot. I'm not trying to prove that I'm the brightest around. I'm not trying to prove any of that, even though some days when it's hot and some people be like, oh man, I get it. You win. All right. You win. But it's not trying to prove anything. It's just going to do its job and it's going to remain consistent. But the thing is, can you look at these things and start to take on these attributes for yourself? Are you consistent? Are you faithful? Do you have an unconditional love affair? Regardless if some people start to talk about you and say, they're doing that, our new thing, and I knew they're doing this, or, she covering her hair now, or she doing all of this stuff. Can you remain faithful? Or are you going to get caught up into these worldly things of that start to tell you, oh, nah, man, this is the way it should look. But when you see, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? This is going to go by like this. It'll go by in an instant, in a flash. What are you looking for? And then can you stay steadfast and can you remain on your square like the sun? Whether you are here or not, I'm going to do my job. Do you have that same thing in you? Is a question that you have to ask yourself consistently and keep reminding yourself. That even goes back to when you look at the beginning in the Anu way, when it says this book is to be read daily. Because you're consistently going to get reminded of what the world is doing and what the world has going on and trying to get you to feed into whatever that may be. Whether, we all have a duty to uphold this community that we're in. What community? I didn't, some of these decisions that are being made, I wasn't in on that meeting. I would have had something to say about that. You mean you don't have an opinion about what the president is doing? No. Because I'm too busy creating a community where now I had the solution. I'm not worried about the problem. When I get too focused on the problem, now all of a sudden, what am I doing? Nothing, but just wasting time, energy, and effort. Why don't I focus on the solution? And then I can now start to see, even if we start going back to defeating anger, what Chief had said in that, there's divine offenses and there are personal offenses. There's divine offenses. I don't have to worry about that. Elohim has been around a lot longer than me. I don't need to try to take on all of these things in order to in order to now make a point and saying, yeah, I'm so invested, or I'm into, and I'm doing. I don't need to take that on. All I need to do is focus on the solution. All I need to do is focus on the purpose that the Creator blew into me and said, this is what I want you to do. This is the quest. This is what I want you to handle. I don't have to concern myself with that. When I concern myself with that, that's when I start to now go down different paths. And you see in the book of Eli when he said, stay on the path. Stay on the path. Stay on the path. And don't put conditions on what it has to look like. Put conditions on, but I want to get the trophy. Conditions on, but I want to get called on stage. I don't want any of that. I just have an unconditional love affair with growth. I have an unconditional love affair with the connection with my Creator. That's all. That's all. Peace to the Chief.
Hey, peace, Aki. Peace.
Always a pleasure to hear your voice and have you in the space, man.
Always a pleasure to hear you flow, man. You dropping a lot of gems today, and all of y'all, everyone who spoke, man. I think it's I know it's a topic that's near and dear to you, because it's something that you do bring up periodically, just in terms of people's commitment, and why people enter into things, man. So it's always good when you have your research, centering around something that is personal to you, and I was thinking as you were speaking earlier about just like you said, like what people come in, what they want, or like someone saying, yo, does he got bread, or does he have bread, or whatever it is. And a lot of times people come into their supposed learning with special conditions, and as a sense of their spirit of entitlement, they expect those conditions to be met, and they expect to also be considered a thing without meeting the conditions of being a student. So it would be like someone going to you and saying, yo, teach me how to play football, but don't ask me to handle a football, because those are made out of pigskin, and I don't touch pigskin. But I need you to teach me how to play football. So you're not even coming with your own free will, being free enough where you're meeting me at a place where you're emphasizing, your openness. But it's like you have these special conditions, and if you don't fulfill these conditions, then either you're not a real teacher, or I just can't learn, or anything like that, but they're not willing to pass through even the preparatory stages that would lead to deeper knowledge. And one of those stages is like, yeah, how are you coming through the door? Do you have a desire towards the love affair that you speak about, or your desire towards success? Because if you do any work, any vocation, and you're doing it for success, you will never succeed. You'll fail every time. But if you do it for love, you will always succeed every single time. If I love doing something, the very first day I'm on the job, I already won, because I'm doing what I love. But if I'm doing it for success, man, I'll never hit that mark. That's a trick bag. So that failure or unwillingness to fulfill certain conditions is so deep in people who say they come to learn, because when you're learning higher knowledge or you're learning deeper knowledge, um there's a there's a there's some obvious outcomes of higher knowledge, and there are demands that higher knowledge has on you. Just like the football coach is going to have a demand, yo, you got to touch the football like at least once. Like, I don't care what position you play, you have to be willing to touch the ball. you know, you
Right.
know? And that's for anything. You want to be a mechanic. Oh, teach me how to be a mechanic, but I don't touch tools and I don't like grease on my hands. But I need you to teach me. So in everything, there's a path that you have to walk, and you have to remove certain insistence that you may have. Give me your higher emotion. I mean, you come to a teacher and you say, give me your deeper knowledge, give me your occultism, give me your esoterics, give me all the things that you've studied, but leave me with my feelings, leave me with my thoughts, leave me with my historical emotions, but give me all of the higher awareness. And when you pursue understanding in that way, you'll never attain it, because one of the first things that a teacher is going to impose on a student, a real student, is a bodily and a spiritual cleanse before I can even work with you. You're going to have to clear, we're going to deal with these emotions, these feelings, these thoughts, maybe even the way you eat, where you live, how you dress, what you do as a quote unquote profession, or even as a hobby, but instead a fake student will come with impossible demands, such as that, and not want to pay heed to the advancement in spirit and the advancement in health that a real teacher is going to demand of them.
And it just makes me think of, it's like, how can I hand you something when you're not willing to let go of what you perceive you have in your hand? It's like, but if I do this, then this is going to change me. Isn't that the point?
Right.
Is that not the point? To change, to grow. But now I'd rather dance with the devil I know than the one that I don't, because I don't know what's going to happen if I have to take this leap of faith, this act of faith, this walk of faith. I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I've been hurt. I've been through certain things. So I have so much going on.
Yeah.
Are you caught up in this world? Or can you not see beyond this world and what this world has to offer?
It's going inward, it's going backwards. A true student will have to learn that or come to the understanding that their thoughts and feelings are just as important as their actions, because they can injure themselves by hating another person just as much as hitting them. They can help a person by loving them just as much as outwardly loving. So what I mean in saying that is that this is an inward sort of battle. There has to be a change from inside. Like you say, letting go. When you are stuck in the world, it derives you from your equal benefit of untainted feelings and thoughts that could be within inside of you. It derives, or I'm sorry, the world, it manifests equally from those untainted feelings and thoughts. So by cleaning your inside out, by letting go of things that need to be let go, you kind of come into a place where your inner self or your consciousness or your soul becomes the actual work. And then that becomes just as real as everything that's outside of you. But sometimes when you come to a teacher, you're saying, I want to keep all these external things about me, or I want to keep all these internal things, but I want you to change my external. Give me some beads, give me a crown, give me a new name, give me a couple slick phrases, but I don't want to change anything significant about myself internally. But at some point, you're going to have to admit that everything that's within you internally produces an effect, just as every action of your hand produces an effect. So a true teacher is going to go to the source of effect. It's going to go to your cause. It's going to go within all that stuff that you're trying to pretend doesn't have a cosmic importance on your life, but your inner life is what determines if you're fit or unfit for the path that you want to get on. You know,
you just made me think of, but I'm reading this now. It's 2 Timothy 3. And just a matter of, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boisterous, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to the parents, unthankful. I mean, so many people like to profess how thankful they are, but then you see their actions. It's like you're doing something totally different than what you're saying. If you're thankful for what's being put in front of you, then why wouldn't you give back to whatever it is that you keep taking from? I'm just going to become a parasite. And then when asked to do one thing, oh yeah, I ain't have time to do it, but I got time to take though. I got time to keep consuming. Unholy, without natural affection. Truce breakers. Can't even keep your word, man. I tell this to my nephew all the time. If a man cannot keep his word, he is not a man. Right. He cannot be even looked at as a man. How can somebody even look to you for anything if you say, I'm going to do something, you show up, and then you're not ready to go? False accusers, man, incontent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. Oh man, I mean, there was the show that I listened to last night. The one that I think you put in the chat of the young lady who was calling in. He was like, well, they're my male friends, and if I got advice from my male friends, then it's nothing wrong with it because we're not having sex or something along those lines. And in that, if y'all go back and listen to it, it was like, the thing that if you start giving people advice, if you start actually leading them out of insanity, they're going to hate you. Yep. They're going to start to hate you. And I listened to that and I just kept like replaying. And then when I come here and this just like, it jumped out at me, like, I'm not going to like this because now who does this dude think he is? But it's just flowing through. That's all it is. And I'm not gonna be grateful that it got me out of all of this garbage and all of this insanity and put me on some right and clean me up. Now that goes back to Mark when it talked about the clean this kid up. You gotta get out of here, man. We can't have that. We can't actually have you putting the right head and the right mind on top of people's shoulders. We can't have that. We want them still showing up to retreats. We want them still showing up to places with their head in the toilet and being flushed at the same time. We don't want them to actually be present and in the moment and ready to listen and be studious. And actually now, that's what Achi was actually presenting on too, was, having that being educated is warfare. Are you ready to take on the challenges that are in front of you, but you can't do it if you're uneducated? So these are like when I start looking at these things, and then you start looking around, and then you start looking at what's in front of you, and then it's like there's so many things that can get you. And I understand that they're it's like a kid in a candy store, with so many things can start to lead people down so many different roads. But what is more important to you? What now is this thing that we have called life is only going to be here for a flat. It goes by like an instant. What are you going to do with it? Are you still trying to hold on to your soft punk behind ego that starts to tell you, oh no, who is he to talk to me like that? Or I'm supposed to know this kind of stuff because my age should tell me that I should know things more than what somebody is trying to tell me who's 18, 19. All of these things that start to get one to not actually get true healing. To not actually, but ultimately, no, you know what? I'm just looking for a cure. Just show me the cure. Show me something that'll make me feel better in the moment that I can now just get some rest tonight and then deal with this whole thing tomorrow. So it's like a hamster on a wheel. Like I'm gonna go into this thing called our new hospital. I'm going to get just enough to get an energy to go back and do the same thing that I've been doing. Just I'm going to come off of smoking crack just to get enough energy to go back and smoke some more crack.
Right.
Can we go beyond that? Can we have now, can we start to look at Daniel and say, what's in Daniel's heart? Is that in my heart? Am I now not going to defile myself like maybe some things that I used to do, I no longer can do that? Because now, even like there was another show that you did, it was just talking about sending these daggers out. And if I start to, all of these things, these daggers that I think that I'm sending to other people, ultimately they're daggers that are coming right back at me. But do I want to clean that up, or do I want to stay stuck and never really moving and never really going anywhere? Because now there's ultimately conditions on how I think I should learn, or how something should look, or how, you know, or whatever the case may be of what now my growth and evolution should look like. Which just,
you know, it's
cycle.
It's interesting, like, because what you're obviously speaking about is, you know, people coming in and having this fear of failure, or not being resolute enough in their resolutions, you know, kind of saying certain things and putting certain ideas out into the cosmos and not recognize, you know, that's kind of like, that's how you junk the world up, you know. And like in what you're talking about, you know, when you deviate from a resolution that you've made, you know, you say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be this, don't worry, I got you. And you don't realize that the moment you put your word to something, you create a force. And that force, it may not produce the immediate effect if you don't follow through, but it still produces an effect in its own way. The only difference is that it doesn't climb to the higher realm. So like if you say, hey, creator, I'm gonna ascend my consciousness so much that I'm gonna be with you in the halls when I transition. Well, if you really do those things, then you'll be in the halls when you transition. If you don't, then you just put more lies in the world. So that's more lies that we all gotta, like, it's like an energy bubble. And the world gets full of these energy bubble lies, which were resolutions that were made that were never carried out, because there was no decisive action that arose from the desire of what it is that you said. You know, love in itself is a decisive sort of factor, and it has an impulse, and it can impel someone to grow. So like when you talk about the love for the unconditional love for learning, that love will cause you to grow. And when you get to a point where you're not dismayed by failure, you'll grow and be able to transmute every resolution into higher action. You know, but when you're so afraid, like you said, that punkish sort of mentality or character, you never reach the stage of seeing an effect of your outward action, you know, or even find contentment in performing it. You know, it's like, man, I said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you know, and I'm happy to be in the middle of, and that middle part of when my word goes out and then my action actually manifests something, you know. But some people, they don't want to sacrifice their actions, you know, or even who they are to the world, you know. They don't allow that sacrifice to happen. But when you're always ready to sacrifice, meaning I'm always going to do what I say I'm going to do, anybody who's pursuing the path will get a greater understanding of what it's supposed to look like. But you just confuse people. You put more confusion on the planet when you're not willing to sacrifice to go from thought to action or word to action. You put this energy on the planet. Now we're all walking through a fog of your leftover lies, your ghost of lies. You know, the business that was supposed to happen that never happened. Now it's a ghost. You know, the family that was supposed to happen, it's a ghost. You know, you're supposed to take your son fishing and you decide, man, I'm tired. I will go next strong. He been talking about it for the past 6 days in school. Yeah, my pop said, we going fishing. Then you say, man, we go next strong. So, because it ain't a big deal to you. Now that's another ghost that's in the world. You got all these bubbles of energy that's in the world. None of them make it to the next dimension, because in order for it to make it to the next dimension, you have to apply that love that compels it forward. You see, so a lot of times people are dirtying up the world with their lack of like you say, follow through of being a man or a woman, of your word of your word. You end up dirtying the world in that way.
So what are you gonna do? Like every time I remember you said something, what are you going to do in this moment? What are you planning to be in this? Power is in the moment. In this moment, you have the ability to say, you know what, I can't be the same person that I used to, releasing these thought bubbles of ghosts of energy into the world. Creating now more, and even in something as small as I'm going to take my youth to go fishing. And then, but I don't do it. Well, then now what is that creating in your youth? And now how they will start trust, and how that, even in the sense of, that makes me think of the attachment theory. And in the attachment theory, it speaks of one of the first stages of, the child and the connection that they have with their mother. And if the mother is not grounded and well rooted, or if they don't have a strong connection with their mother, then all of a sudden they start to present themselves as anxious and disorganized. And when they're anxious and disorganized, they don't really trust. They don't really step out. There's no home base that they can return to. And if there's no home base that they can return to or they feel safe with, then now they don't trust and go out and move and groove in the world because of now some of their upbringing. So they now have to deal with that. Even as an adult, and I've seen many people come through in therapy who having to deal with these things as they're young, because they were youth, and these ghosts that somebody has let out into the world, and now all of a sudden, because you don't want to hold your word, somebody else has to deal with that. They have to shoulder the burden of that. Are you willing to say, you know what, no, I can't do this because I know now this is going to start to create unnecessary havoc in my youth life. So now let me just actually hold myself to my word. If you don't have it, if I ain't got it, I ain't got it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But if you're going to commit to something, if you're going to put your word to it and say, I'm going to do it, God dang it, you better do it. Because what you just said is, what are you putting out into the world that everybody has to deal with? And I know some people don't care. And honestly, some people, we all are not created from the same male. So I'm not going to sit up here and act like some people, there's a what we spoke about the last time is that dichotomy. I understand that there's going to be people that oppose to what somebody else is doing. There's got to be an opposing force. But what are you, you have a choice in this moment. What are you choosing to be in this moment is the question. I see Emma, Koti Moreya, Master Menelec, and Koti Yafe, y'all over here. If you want to say something, just unmute. Or if not,
as they're getting themselves together, man, I wanted to tap on that lovers of themselves thing that you brought up as well. That's such an important kind of, it's obviously he was speaking about what's going to happen in the last days with people being greedy and being covetous and things like that. But I think it's so critical because oftentimes it is classified or exemplified by someone who will never really truly do anything for anyone else. They don't truly care about people's situations. They only are concerned, they're stuck in that root chakra. They're just concerned about their own welfare. And they only go, even those who they may go to the mosque or they may go to church or the shrine or whatever. They only do it so that their God can recognize them. That's it. They're not doing it for any other reason, even if they offer up something, it's because they're expecting a reward. So you have people who will speak in that sense, hey, this is a line, this is the $100 line, this is the $500 line, so you want people to revere you and to praise you as a result of you being so selfish and so self-centered and being addicted to words like I, and being addicted to words like me, and being addicted to words like myself and my, you have this fetish for those words. You hear those words, man, your engine start revving, and it just, that lover of self, and it goes deeper. I mean, I could go into the Greek, But just the idea of being concerned only with your own interest, and neither loving, it says, neither loving Elohim or men in comparison with themselves, but not being able to really put yourself in a place where you can see the kinship in other people. There's just kind of a sadness, I think, in that, when you really think about how closed a person's world is who's stuck in that. That's all. I know Sister Yafe was coming in.
Yeah. And that even makes me go ahead, Sister Yafe.
No, you go finish and then I'll come in.
It just made me think of the whole self-centeredness, and it was the selfish, self-absorbed, and self-centered. And I'm gonna go brief from the top of my head. When one is selfish, one is only concerned with their own fork and their own plate. So if everybody's sitting at a potluck or something like that, they're only going to get up and they're going to look after their own stuff. Now, somebody might say, what is the problem with that? Right? But it's like, what happens when somebody is sitting next to you and they're in a wheelchair, or they're on crutches, or they need help? And that ain't my problem, right? That's one being selfish. I can point out to you another group of people that are the most selfish, of not thinking about the community, not thinking about anything that of the communal needs. But you know what? I'd rather identify a certain way. Let me just say that. Yeah, and selfish. Now, one is self-absorbed. One, like, despite all the things that they try to profess of how much they care for other people, how much they do for other people, and how much they want to do, the only thing that they're doing it for is for recognition for themselves. Look what I've done. Look, I've done this and this and this. Guess what? If you really did it from the heart, would you even be speaking towards it? Now, that takes one to being self-centered. When one is self-centered, one is coming to balance of saying that, you know what, I understand if I can't give what I don't have. And if I don't have a connection with the Creator, how can I start to give that to somebody else? If I don't have peace in my life, how can I give that to somebody else? If I don't have these things that I say that I profess, then I can't possibly give it to somebody else. But guess what? I'm going to start to make sure that I start on a road where I can now give something of nutritional value. Self-centeredness. Now that I might have butchered that, but that's what I remember from.
But brother, like what's so key about that too is that because I mean that 2 Timothy, it starts out with, for men shall be lovers of themselves, their own selves, right? So it tells you just how critical that is. I would surmise that is the root of all evil, is being a lover of yourself. Everything kind of stems out from it. That's why, like, when they ask you, how was Shy, like, yo, what is the main thing we need to know? He's like, man, love your neighbor like you love yourself. And if you get that, you'll get all the other stuff. So, but being a lover of yourself, it's well, when you look at the Greek word again that was used there, but I think that's such a critical thing in what you're speaking about in terms of like communal effort and things like that, because again, when you look at context, like when he says love your neighbor, my neighbor is of my tribe. I'm not neighboring against people. My neighbor is there's my neighbors, and then there's people out in the world, when you put it in proper context. So loving my neighbor as I'm loving myself, or loving my brother as I'm loving myself, is loving fellow Israelites, people of my actual origin, my ethnic origin. So even when he says, like, men shall be lovers of their own selves, he's saying you're going to forget your tribe. You're going to forget that you're supposed to be working for the good of the tribe, and once you get out of that, if you're sitting in the midst of a community, if you're sitting in the midst of a tribal setting and you're only thinking about yourself, then you are like a stone in the stream of that tribe. because there's a flow where everyone is taking care of each other. We have all ascribed ourselves to making sure that each other's health is preserved, each other's life is preserved, and we're looking at the salvation of each other's souls in a good sense, so forth and so on. Make sure that everyone is principled and all of these different things. And you sitting there in the middle of it all, pretending and saying, yeah, but I'm just here for myself. So then you're like an enemy inside of the camp, because what makes the camp is our love for each other. So anything contrary to that now becomes an obstacle and a blockage of energy within the community and within the camp. You know, so it's something that crossed by, man. I know, you know, Yafe's been.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Go to Yafe.
Okay. Good thing. I had all these things I wanted to say from the beginning. So point one, no, I'm just joking. Based on what Chief just said regarding, well, not just said, but a few minutes ago about the ghost, it immediately drew me to the idea of like the thoughts and the spirits and that bi-directional course that happens. So when we make these promises, you know, whether we speak them out loud or they're a thought, it's like, that's I was like, that's like the creating spirits and putting spirits into the space and like junking up. And so it's like, what is all of this junk, as you say, that we're actually walking through, all these spirits that we're walking through, broken promises, you know, lies, like all those things, and that they are kind of like in the space that becomes like this force field, like you said, that we have to walk through, but we have to shield ourselves from, because who knows what's gonna come through it. So we do have to stay on the path, or else we'll be subjected or become susceptible to whatever these ghosts and spirits are that were created by ourselves, and maybe those around us, and those who are not our neighbors, but we're susceptible because we're moving in spaces that are not predominantly or like totally inundated with our own community or with our ALItes. And then the part about like loving ourselves, immediately I thought of a movie. It's not The Matrix, Achi Zach, but I think it's one of the movies you bring up, The Devil's Advocate. At the end, where he's, you know, talking, he's like, vanity was always my best quality. And even in that, like, it led me back to like your initial the first part of the build about you know, the world, right? And getting sucked into the world, and part of it is because of the loving of our own selves, you know, for what profits a man, you know, should he gain the whole world? And it's like, when we do that, and we allow the world to, like, you know, pull us in with falsities of like instant gratification or whatever it is, you know, whether it be from social media or all the things that we are taking in from television, music, all of those things, it creates these spaces where it creates those conditions that you're talking about, and those conditions become demands, and not the demands that like a true teacher, as you said, Chief, would demand of you, but the other things that will continue to sever connection with the Ruach or sever connection with the Most High. And it's like, we have to always, and I have to always be cognizant of that, because it's real easy to get sucked back into that. And you have to be like, you know, stay on the path. There has to be that. And the only way to do that is to be with our ALItes and have that constant connection and communication with community members. Because if not, then you'll be like lost to the fray. So I just wanted to share that and like leave space for someone else to speak. Thanks.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. And you said a few things that made me think of a couple segments that was done. One of them was on the hoarding piece, you know, and so many people hoard certain emotions, or they hoard certain things in order to insulate themselves from the shock and the trauma that they have dealt with. And now it's a matter of, from being a true teacher or a true healer, seeing that, you know what, of how to start to approach these things. Even when some people start to become very controlling, which can start to point to some PTSD. And one trying to use that in the sense of saying, you know what, I'm not going to let this happen to me again. And in order for me not to let any of this trauma or any of this shock happen to me again, I'm going to become very controlling, and I'm going to control my cipher. So no, it has to be like this. You got to do this. You got to do this, because I don't want anything to happen to me again. I don't want to open myself up to be hurt, right? And even when you had spoke a little bit too about the piece, you know, from the movie, vanity has always been my greatest asset. It started to make me think of also too. This is why I'm like, y'all, if you look and just see what's in front of you, it's all there. I swear to goodness, it's all there. The difference between one who is searching to be pretty and then the difference, but actually understanding what true beauty is, right? And going back to, and it's only a minute clip on this joint, but it was like beauty is uncovered and then understood. It's not something that you can enhance, and it's not something that you can copy, right? And how many people start to confuse beauty with pretty? So pretty in trying to, and that's when you start there, pretty being what, I don't forgot who sung that song. Being pretty hurts. It's gonna hurt because you're not being authentic. So it's always gonna hurt, right? But it's not until you start to take a look around and you say, you know what, let me actually, beauty is around me, but is beauty trying to, it's not something that's trying to enhance itself. It's just living on purpose. And when something is living on purpose, something becomes beautiful because it's beauty filled. What's inside of you makes you beautiful. This person is just a beautiful person because they're beauty filled. This is when you start to hear some of those things where it says some of the prettiest people do the ugliest things. You could be pretty, quote unquote, on the outside, but when you have an ugly, nasty, dirty, funky spirit, you are ugly. Ugly. And I don't care how much you try to achieve and put on or make whatever it is that you try to do. I mean, how many push-ups you do in the gym or whatever the case may be. If you are not beautiful, beauty filled, then you're not beautiful. And being beautiful starts to, I remember a long time ago, you start to hear people be like, you know what, my heart is just full, man. My heart is full. And when somebody's heart is full, they're not trying to let me get this and let me get that and all of that. They looking to give this, man. I want this feeling that I got for me. I want it for you. How can I now sit in the middle of this community and give what is filled within me? I want you to have it as well. That's when you start to have a connection with others and start to meet them halfway. So you start to even see, you know what? I don't need this, but I think so-and-so might need this. I don't need this, but I think may need this. Now it's not just thinking of what do I, me, I, and all of these fly, stupid sayings that people say. There ain't no I in T, but there is an M and an E. It is about me. You go beyond that. And when you start to go beyond that, then you start to really have a connection with the community. And you start to see, you know what? This is not about what can I get, but what do I actually have to give? What can I open myself up to? Because I know that they're opening themselves up to me, and it's going to be a mutual exchange. There's some reciprocity here. So how do we start to go beyond? Coach Maria, Master Elect, do you want to?
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Yeah, definitely give the thanks for the build and for everyone who was sharing. As everyone was speaking, I was thinking of that segment, the undeveloped person, right, or the undeveloped personality, and that person who always they miss the point of the whole thing because they come in with an agenda, or they come in with their own view of the world, and they don't come seeking to change it or to get a more enlightened understanding of the world. Like Chief was saying, they come in with a certain idea of how the world works, and they want to leave with that same idea. They don't want to change, but they want to gain something. So just add it on, but don't change nothing that's already there. Nothing really works like that. You add something on, you got to change something. Even if you bring in a new couch, you got to rearrange your furniture so the couch can fit. You can't just say, give me the couch and just put it on top of the old couch. You got to get rid of the old couch and make space for the new one. And a lot of times we miss the point because we come in with the raggedy sight or the raggedy vision that ultimately you should want to change when you're coming in. So that was one of the main things. I had a story that I wanted to tell from a show, but Chief pretty much broke down the entire synopsis of the entire show. So that's like a moot point at this point. So I just wanted to drop that in there as well.
Yeah, and just what you said of speaking on, if you want a piece of furniture, you know, then ultimately I have to remove the old. But now the old might come with certain things that I feel or I think that is going to protect me or insulate me from something. Or what's better? You know what's better than having a closet full of shoes? Having 2 closets full of shoes, right? Or not, or just having a hoarding, man. Just consuming, constantly consuming, and it even starts to take me back to what's that the last time if I fly low enough to the ground, you don't have to worry about falling, right? And it goes back to that old what was said about the things that you own begin to own you. So now I can't move. I can't do these things because I got all this stuff. And I can't get rid of this stuff. Or no, I need that. Or no, I need that. You know, so and so gave me that. My grandmother gave me that, and now I can't get rid of it. Well, you know what did it mean? Because ultimately, as long as it meant something, and you speak about it, and you hold it in your heart, you're never going to lose it. But now you're looking for physical things to hold on to, and now you start to hoard. And you're hoarding because of trying to insulate themselves from that shock and that trauma. But again, now there's no space for the Elohim. Now there's no space for the Most High. Now it's like, what are you holding space for? Are you holding space for these worldly things and these worldly possessions? Are you only holding growth so now you become nice and light and you can start to levitate and you can start to grow and move beyond these certain conditions that the world is, when people just start saying, I feel so heavy. I feel so heavy. Well, how do you unburden yourself? By letting some of it go, but that's not, though it sounds, it's very easy to accomplish. I understand for some it's very difficult because again, I don't know what is going to happen to me if I do go through this and I'm going to change. I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of that. So I'd rather just do what I'm doing currently. Even though it's not yielding me any results or any fruit, it's not doing any of that. But at least I have some sort of control because I can manage this anxiety or manage this depression. At least what I perceive I can up until this point. But it's just killing one.
Yeah, man, for sure. Because, I'm sorry. Oh, that was Sister Maria. Go ahead, sis.
Thank you. Peace, everyone. Greetings, Chief. Greetings, Achi Zach. Thank you. I am going to drop a movie in here. It's an old movie, right? If I drop the movie, maybe it'll break up the floor. Pardon me if it does. I'm master intellect, so maybe you could continue. I'm sorry.
Just drop the movie, please, Maria. Good Lord. I was in a whole different room and I came running back. What's the movie?
I don't want to break up the flow, but I'm just going to break up the flow.
All right. Caught red-handed. Yes. So the name of the film is This Way of Life. And so in This Way of Life, there was almost like a quote that was really profound to me. And I had to go and look for it because I kept thinking, as you're talking, throughout this entire time, I kept thinking about the film. This man kind of, this father rears his youth on a homestead, like farm, and they hunt game and they butcher the game and so on. So he is giving them game, like literally, right? But one of the things he says is, people look down on the life that he lives, that is a life that's set apart, right? But one of the things he says constantly is, what I do for a living is live, and what I do for an income is whatever I can do without compromising my integrity, And that's a message for me, because it's like, and all of us in that instance, it's like, you always say this, Achi Zach, it has to be in you.
It has to be in you. So I can't necessarily wear a cloak of.
See, this is how it happens.
But it has to. I have to be that, and there can't be a fair. Pardon. Okay.
So if you flowing, sister, you going.
Yeah, because you first off, you're giving him credit for my sayings. Then that's the first thing. That's actually the second thing. The first thing is I told you about that movie, and his father didn't teach him those things. Remember, it was his stepfather that took the house from him at the end of the film, or the documentary. You see, y'all be taking my stuff, you don't even be getting it right. Come on now.
Hey, sister, you right. You right. Go, sister. You right.
Zach don't say that. Zach say, let's go. I'll give y'all Zach's phrases. Let's go. Let's ride. I be him and he be me. Greetings and salutations. That's Zach. That's his right there.
Well, I mean,
See, you need to trademark some of these sayings. Be kissable. The left part.
Yes, we attribute it to Chief Jagna, Chief Yuya. So, he always says that. It has to be in you. What's that? Oh, I thought you said something. But yeah, I think I got caught up in the film, just like the whole visual and the idea of that idea of living fearlessly and identifying what you know to be the path and what that vision is that has been given to you, and then just disseminating it to whomever is in your family or whoever is around you, and making sure like everybody moves off of that. I know those words will perform to me because it's like, yeah, when you say your income is whatever I can do without compromising my integrity, that that is what you're living by. And a lot of what you are sharing, this idea of having an unconditional love affair, in his case, that love affair is with integrity, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes to be and do for my family, as long as it doesn't jeopardize my honesty and my authenticity, and everything that I do in my journey is going to be a reflection of that. And, that's a powerful message for us during the strong, because it's like I know, like I work a job, so I do step out of my home space, but every time I step out of that space, I have to walk and know that everyone I encounter, everything that I do has to be laced with Danu. And there's a powerful message too that Chief gave us, even, I think it was during the fellowship. It's like, you are a representation, right? You're a representation of what is Anu. You're a representation of Yah and everything. And I'm putting in my own words, but it's like everything that we do, we are an example, and other people are watching us. They're watching us to make a decision on, how to receive us. And it's visible in not just our clothing, but it's the words that we speak and affirmations that we share with others. Because, sometimes people are looking for something. They're looking for something, and you can tell they're looking for something because they're looking at you, and you can see it. And when we pass by and we don't engage and we don't affirm and we don't share with them, it's sometimes we're the only opportunity during the day that they get to maybe receive encouragement. So I just wanted to share that idea of the unconditional love affair. When I first saw it, I thought of unconditional love affair with learning, with growth, with integrity, with the idea of Anu, for that matter. So there's just so much that comes up in the message, and I want to give thanks for that. Just the power you and Mansa Yuya just bringing power today, and I appreciate that.
Let me just say one thing. My vocabulary is a little more extensive than let's go.
I told you, let's ride. Let's ride. Yeah, I know all of them.
I have a firm grasp on the English language. I just simply choose not to employ it.
Just because you put your fingers like that doesn't mean we're required to take you more seriously. Just so you know. He holding his hands like Mr. Peanut. Next thing you know, he gonna put on a top hat. Y'all gonna respect me. Nah. We know your sayings. Let's ride. Let's go. Be our new. I'm almost out.
Don't forget what I've been saying since I was 5 now.
No, you ain't been saying that. Now we'll give you the Matrix stuff.
You got the other thing, the two reasons, right? Either you're gonna have regret or I forgot it.
I took that from somebody. That ain't mine.
That ain't him. That ain't how he talks.
Oh my goodness.
That ain't mine.
Oh man, I was ready to put it on a t-shirt.
Hey, you put it on a shirt. Just don't put it back to me.
Don't put his name on it. Yeah, we know his stuff. His stuff is anything from the Matrix, anything from the Lion King, and then the rest is just all sports sayings. If you tune into sports, then you're gonna know everything he's talking about. Yeah, man, take it right through the hole. That's the type of stuff he be saying. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's him.
Oh man.
And the rest is me.
Got me sweating. Oh man. All right. I don't know what movie though. What movie did you say that was?
This Way of Life.
Oh, This Way of Life.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. It came out in like 2010. It's about a dude and his family in New Zealand, and it's just a good movie, man. A free up movie, you know, like what it looks like. It's not even a movie, actually; it's a documentary, so it's real. You know.
Oh, okay.
This Way of Life.
All right, cool. Master Miller, you was jumping in there. Did you want to say something, or you good?
I mean, I don't want to break up the flow. Yeah, I think I was about to speak on, because you were talking about certain emotions that people put into their possessions, right? And you brought up that Fight Club quote, the things that you own and the things that you own end up owning you. And I was just continuing with the couch analogy of, I remember when I had some hard times, I had this couch here. When I first moved into this house, me and your mom, we still had this car. And even though this car is breaking down, it costs more to fix because they don't make the parts. I still love this car and I'm going to keep it. Mm-hmm. Even though it's burning a hole in my wallet, I'm going to keep it. And certain other things that we just hold on to that we don't necessarily need anymore. But we're not really trying to attach ourselves to the thing. We're attached to the feeling that we attach to the thing, and rather than letting the feeling go, we just hold on to that thing, like going back to that hoarding piece. And at a certain point, I don't even know what one would hope to gain from that feeling, because you can't go back to it and you can't re-experience it. You just like the memory of it. And you don't want to move forward from that place because you feel like you're going to lose something that's more valuable than what you could gain. Like you always say, Zach, better the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Come on. Right? Come on, brother.
Yeah, another one of Achi Zach's greatest hits.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to add to that piece.
I can dig it. Real recognize real, brother. Real recognize real. Yeah, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I did want to, when Coach Maria was speaking, she reminded me of a discussion we were having in the womb build, not this past Sabbath, but I think it was last Sabbath, when we were even talking about how we greet people, right? And it goes and it's in alignment with like staying on that path. Like I am who I am. Like I'm walking my path. And how I am with my community, no matter where I am, nobody's going to knock me off that square. So even in the way I greet you, I'm not going to change the way that I greet people just because I'm afraid that you may not understand. And I think like we discussed, kind of going through like a process, like of how do I do that? Do I continue to just say hi to people and hello, or do I say shalom? Do I say peace? Do I say greetings? And some of us had to go through that process and do that. And one sister was explaining how like she did that, and the response that she got back was and good rise to you. So like you were saying, like Coach Marie, you never know like what that output that we give is going to do for another person, and also like what we're going to get back. And not saying to do it based on what you're going to give back, because that is not true giving, but just maintaining the path, because it's kind of like back to the beginning, it's like if you build it, they will come. So like what if nobody's around? It doesn't matter. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I could be in the middle of a cornfield and nothing there, but I'm going to keep doing it this way, and whoever needs to see it, feel it, hear it will be able to do just that. And
that one time, go ahead. I've been talking.
I was gonna say, if it's coming from a sincere place, and it's like Achi Zach was saying, your heart is full of it and it's pouring out, people will get what you're trying to give to them, even if you say it in a language they don't understand. It's like, this person just greeted me. You can feel it when someone gives you something authentic. And I was actually, when you were speaking, I was thinking about Abba Harut. And when you listen to Abba Harut speak, if you only focus on his words, you won't understand where he's coming from. But if you can tune into the frequency that he's coming from, like you could feel where he's coming from, and you could feel that he may not be wording it as effectively as he's trying to, but there's something that he really wants you to get. And he doesn't want to leave anything out. Like, he wants you to get the full thing. Mm-hmm. And you listen more intently, and it's like, oh, this is actually a gem. If I just sat back and listened to the words, I would be lost, But when you tune into what it is he's trying to give you, you realize how valuable it is. That's what I learned from working with them a lot more closely these past few strongs. But yeah, it doesn't matter the words you say, but the energy that you're transmitting to the other person. So I could just say, hey, peace. And another person will be like, hey, how you doing? And it doesn't have to be this whole person just said peace instead of hello. I don't know how I feel about that. They can feel it. It's a very natural exchange. Yeah.
And that's a lot of people getting the arguments too behind that, of what you kind of just said. It's not what you said, it's how you said it, right? That's usually one of the chief things that people get into conflict behind. You should have said it like this. And when you listen to Abba Harut, you can tell it's almost like he has so much that he wants to get out at one point, but you can see that it's coming from an authentic place though. Like, I want to help you so bad that all of this, I got to get it out right now, right? And it just starts flowing. It starts flowing. But again, you can hear the sincerity and you can hear the authenticity. But again, that goes back to, for those who have ears to hear. Because some people will blow right by and miss what is being presented right in front of them. But again, and even going back to what Achi Marie and Achi Yafe was just talking about, there are people who the only part of their day is if they see you, and they're looking to see what it is that you say you're about, what it has done for you, or are you doing the same things that I'm doing? Because if you're doing the same things that I'm doing, then what is the whole point of me even looking into or trying to discover what you're doing? You drinking like I'm drinking. Well, what? Man, I'm not interested in this. You getting into arguments over trivial things. What's the point of this? Right? Or some people will start to try to just ask you questions because they don't have any humility in order to now just say, you know what, can you teach me this? Instead of teaching me this, I'm going to start to try to now pick an argument with you. can you be so grounded and rooted in who and what you are that you already know, you know what, I'm going to answer this in love. I'm going to answer this, and I'm not going to start to tell, I'm going to turn up. I'm not going to start to say these stupid sayings that people say that I'm from the kingdom, but I'm from the south side of the kingdom. You're going to say something stupid like that, they know not to try me, or you're going to start to speak in love. And even it's something in a greeting is saying, you know what, peace, because that's what I want for you. I understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. I'm going to say something that I want for you and that I want for the rest of your day. And they be like, and then all of a sudden, because this is what I've gotten is, why do you say that? Oh, that's why you said that. I didn't realize that that's why you said that. I didn't realize that that's why. And now all of a sudden, at first, sometimes they think it's a joke. Oh, good rise. Oh, peace. Oh, Boca Chica. Oh, and then all of a sudden, it's like, but you saying it though. You saying it, and then and then it becomes a part of their vernacular. I know he doesn't say that. Well, now guess what? We not saying that. See how that just worked? You see how that just worked? But again, people will know and they'll start to feel if you're coming from an authentic place. If you have an unconditional love affair with the Most High, if you have an unconditional love affair with your growth, if you have an unconditional love affair with your community, then it'll just be dripping off of you. And people will start to ask questions. Like, maybe they're doing something that I should involve myself in so I can now start to actually evolve and grow myself. So yeah, that's a big thing is what are you showing though on a day in and day out basis? Are you meeting your word? Are you holding on to things that ultimately are serving no purpose anymore? What are you not willing to let go of that's actually not letting you get to a space that you should be in? And do you do you have what in your heart what you see in Daniel's heart, what you see in Amos Wilson's heart, what you see in Chief's heart? Like, do you have that in you? And if you don't, then this is an opportunity for you to take a look at it and say, you know what, I got to make some adjustments. Because I'm just doing things just enough to get enough energy to go back out and do the things that ultimately drain my energy from Jump Street. What is more better than casting out demons in people? I mean, there's a lot of professions that people could have. For me, it doesn't get any better than that. Doing work, and you're not going to get a trophy for it. You're not going to get an envelope that somebody pulls your name out and says, coming to the stage, the winner of this image award, NAACP image award, or whatever the case may be, Viewer's Choice Award. You're not going to get any of that, but you doing the work, saving lives. Does it get any better than that? I mean, whatever. All right. Does anybody else have anything else they would like to add before we close out?
As always, this is a great bill, brother. Give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks for coming to us.
Definitely give thanks. Give thanks, brother.
All right, so we got some let's get to some let's get to that money. I don't know which one of these I'm supposed to hit. Let's do this one. All right, New Orleans. Kingdom Culture. New Orleans, June 2023, retreat experience. Man, let me tell y'all something. I'm going to please myself. I'm going to please myself today. Man, a retreat is a whole vibe. And from the first one that I've ever went to, and I'm not trying to convince you of anything, so I don't really care if you show up. I don't care if it's, I told this Chief Long, I don't care if it's just me and him. I'll be there. But because when you have an unconditional love affair with your own growth, it's not about what somebody can offer you. It's like, you know what? It's time for me to move beyond where I'm at. But just to have, when you sit down in the community and we put the fire and just have conversations from deep esoteric things and sky people to pandemics. All right. Yeah, I mean, the challenging theories and critiquing things, and ultimately, like, you know, these are some of the things that I've been doing. These are some of the things that may or may not be helpful. Like just being able to reorganize, recalibrate, just to decompress and get away from the world and so many things that the world tries to push on you, but to get around like-minded people that you can just sit and share a laugh with, share a deep conversation with, share a meal with, share a jam session with. Like it rejuvenates you. It rejuvenates you, man. It's just a great experience. So if you have the chance, this is the opportunity that has been opened up for the public. Now, I mean, you don't try to bring some worldly things. You don't do that now. You don't call it out. So don't be afraid. But we have a good time though, man. We just have a good time. What you hear, the builds on these affirmatives is the builds that you're gonna get in person. It's not gonna be somebody presenting themselves one way over the line or presenting themselves one way just so for the public, but then when you really meet them, you're like, man, this person's a dud. Person's a, what's that? Oh, you thought I was feeling you? All right, I'm done. All right, so you can sign up. You can use this QR code. It'll take you straight to the sign up, and you can put your name down, and we can move and groove. I think all of these are the same thing. So register here. I think it will. I'm guessing it will look like that. Look like one of these. All right, cool.
Yes.
All right. All right. All right, bet. Am I missing anything, Achi Zach?
No, we could just like you said. I think it's even better live. It's gonna be like times 100, and we're gonna have a live game of Family Jeopardy Feud Fortune Wheel thingamajig, and it's gonna be awesome.
And Achi Zach usually rigs the game in her favor. So
Usually.
Yeah.
Hey. Listen, there's just some
I still
some
win.
houses that win and some houses that lose.
Right.
Some houses win more than others.
Right. And it's always interesting. Always interesting how the house that made the game usually wins the game. That's usually just a coincidence, I guess.
That's a secret. I actually don't ask Cosima or Emilia Kieran to help, just so they can actually play the game with the rest of y'all without feeling like they can't play. So it's not good.
Look at that.
And that's on purpose.
The total elimination of bias right there.
Yo.
That is.
Let me see so y'all can see my face. That has to be audited. Okay. We can't confirm nor can we deny if that is true. Only thing we have to go by is the numbers, and the numbers say that house seems to significantly take more victories away than anybody else. Okay, and the numbers state that there may be something going on here. That's all I'm saying. So,
because with Jeopardy, Aki El Karar, the house of Karar, El Karar won. We didn't have nothing to do with that.
Exactly. And he came out so late. And
You gotta throw the game every once in a while to make it look
I
good.
was gonna say that. There's always that outlier that skews the numbers a little bit, and they point. See, you can't say that because look at that. You know, ain't no racism. You got a black president.
just scan that QR code that realize how competitive some of us are. Some of us are very competitive.
And some of us are just good at hiding and, projecting.
Come on.
Oh, I think this is to know how competitive I am.
Come
We
on.
have internal games, and I'm always happy to win.
Come on. But if they got that for the 2023 championship kickball. You know where you can find me, though.
Oh, goodness. I'll be taking photos.
Hey, you can find me. All right. All right. But nonetheless, thank y'all for all showing up. Thank y'all for building, man. It's always a pleasure. We will be right back at you. Study session is on Wednesday. Thursday, Achi Zach. Friday, can't never remember the name of that. And I know it's not Shima. It's just community, right?
Fellowship.
Gosh.
Fellowship.
Shima just rolls up the tongue now, don't it?
It sure do. And I watched the other one the other night. It was like 3 hours and some change. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it. All right, Fellowship. Fellowship is Friday, and then, we build internally on. And then we'll be right back here. But again, give thanks, y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll do this again soon. Peace.
Likewise, enjoy your day.
Thanks, Achi.
Peace.